Welcome back, guys. I have not posted a video in 2 weeks because the first week I was in Florida and the second week we had a lot of health issues going on between my children and my fiance. So, we are back officially and I'm very excited to bring y'all another podcast today. Today's podcast is going to be about Chelsea Cobo. And what makes this story interesting is Chelsea ended up in the lifestyle that she's in mainly because of mental hospitals. So let's get into today's story. Grab your blankets, grab your snacks, and let's get into this. So, most of this information came from a documentary that Chelsea's mother did, and so that's where we get most of our information from. And I watched the full documentary, and it was very sad. But Chelsea's mother gives us some great details into her life. And Chelsea's mother is the only reason we know what happened to Chelsea. It's not for sure that this is what happened, but we will get into that. So, Chelsea's mother ended up adopting Chelsea at 13 months old because her parents were very mentally ill and they could no longer take care of Chelsea. So her mother went ahead and took over the role of mom and raised her. And in the very beginning, she explains that Chelsea didn't have many friends in high school. She was part of the swim club, the drama, all the different clubs that she loved to do. But she did not have big groups of friends. So how Chelsea got into the stuff she did is a mystery. So in 2015, Chelsea actually ended up having a baby boy who she birthed. She was a very good mother at first. She breastfed, she took care of the baby by herself, she did all the things. But a few weeks after having the baby, everything changed. Chelsea wanted to start going out more, going to parties, living the life of a 20-year-old that most people want to have, even though she had a baby at home and she could not do that. So while Chelsea was partying, she met this DJ that she really liked, and she told her mother about this DJ, but did not tell her any names or anything like that. Well, Chelsea started getting mixed up in the wrong stuff. She started coming home more, sitting outside, sleeping all the time. She wasn't very active with the baby. She kind of just did her own thing. And Chelsea's mother started getting worried when she found out that Chelsea was self-medicating. So her mother went down to the courts and filed paperwork to get custody of Chelsea's son, which they did end up granting. But she also ended up filing for Chelsea to be put in a mental institution as she feared for her daughter's safety. And they granted that, and Chelsea ended up getting put in Coney Island Hospital on March 24th, 2016. And when she was submitted into this institute, she was very communicative with her mom, explaining to her mom how she was getting better, how things were changing. But Chelsea met a friend named Nicole while she was in this mental hospital. Nicole had just got entered for some other issues, and Chelsea walked straight up to Nicole and said, "It's okay, you don't have to be worried." Chelsea was very friendly with Nicole. They ended up becoming friends, but Nicole wants her story to be heard because she got to see the real life stuff on the inside. So Nicole wanted it to be known that it's very important to know that Chelsea was allowed to have visitors while she was in this mental institution, because a lot of people were not allowed to have visitors, but since Chelsea had good behavior, she was allowed to. But Chelsea was roomed with this roommate who they have not disclosed the name, but this roommate was not there to get help. And so she knew that Chelsea was allowed to have visitors. So she told Chelsea, "Hey, this man can bring us in drugs if you'll allow him to come visit you." And because of Chelsea's background, she went ahead and accepted this. And so this man came to visit Chelsea one day, and she told her mother this story, and this is how we know this, but the man stood up and kissed Chelsea. And when he kissed Chelsea, he pushed a balloon into her mouth and told her, "Go deliver the balloon." So Chelsea did what she was supposed to. She turned around, went back to her room, spit out the balloon, and gave it to her roommate. And this is where everything started going downhill for Chelsea. So Nicole says that Chelsea would brag a lot about doing drugs in the hospital, but there was something strange about this. Chelsea told her mother and the doctors when they sat down to have a meeting that she felt like she was being preyed on, that she felt very unsafe and would like to move rooms. And the doctors explained to her that they would not move her room. So when Chelsea ended up going back to her room, the doctors explained to Chelsea's mother that Chelsea was making some pretty bad friends and that it was not a good place for her. So her mother did eventually end up pulling her out of the hospital on April 12th, 2016. And Nicole goes on to explain that whenever Chelsea ended up leaving, they moved Nicole into this room with the roommate. And when she got into the room with the roommate, she had realized that underneath the mattress is where they were hiding all their drugs and the equipment for the kind of drugs they were doing. The roommate was hiding it underneath Chelsea's bed so that it looked like Chelsea was doing all this on her own, but realistically, Chelsea was just bringing the drugs back and forth for the roommate. I'm sure she used sometimes, but not all of those drug paraphernalia were Chelsea's. And so the roommate actually ended up checking out not too long after Chelsea, and Nicole told all her friends that she had a very bad feeling about this, that something was going to happen to Chelsea, and she did not feel good about this. And Nicole ended up being right, but we will have to get into that. So Chelsea ended up staying home after the hospital from April 12th to April 22nd. She stayed home with her mother, took care of her baby, did the things to get back to normal Chelsea. But all of this changed one day when Chelsea decided to go out Friday and Saturday night. And when Chelsea came home, she was actually videoing herself, which is a little weird. But her mother said she wasn't making sense. She kept saying, "I've been robbed, I've been robbed." But it didn't look like Chelsea was fully there. She was delirious and some other stuff was going on. So Chelsea went to bed that night, and when she woke up the next morning, there were text messages found between Chelsea and some of her friends. "Hey, what the heck happened last night? I don't remember anything. I only had 2 drinks, but I can't remember a single thing that happened." And then she texted the roommate, "Did you rob me? What happened last night? I know I didn't drink enough to pass out. What happened?" So Chelsea is texting everybody, trying to figure out what happened, because she had only had 2 drinks, but she knows she had been drugged because she can't remember anything. And this is where Chelsea really starts going downhill, experiencing other types of drugs, and it's not very good for her, because from this point on, she pretty much is no longer a mother. She is not the kind of person that should be around a child, but Chelsea's mother does not kick her out of the home. She tries to help her. So on May 4th, 2016, Chelsea tells her mother that she is going to go out and get her hair done, her nails done, and she wanted to pick up a gift for her mother because she's trying to get back on the right path again. But her mother really knows that this is not what's happening. So there were text messages found that she actually met up with the man from the mental hospital that gave her the drugs, but this time she picked up 6 baggies. So when she returns home and she's not done anything that she told her mother becomes suspicious. And Chelsea actually goes in the bathroom and locks herself in there. And her mother comes and knocks on the door because Chelsea's been in there for a while. And she says, "Chelsea, what are you doing?" Chelsea says, "Nothing, Mom, just go away." Her mother keeps on nagging at her. "What are you doing? Come out of there." And Chelsea and her actually end up getting into a screaming battle about this, but Chelsea eventually does open the door. She looks her mom in the face and says, "I don't want to tell you what's happening because it will become real, and I don't want it to become real." Chelsea's mom knows in that moment that her daughter's high. So she asks Chelsea, "What is it that you're doing?" Chelsea tells her mother, "I have no idea. They just give it to me." And Chelsea actually ends up handing over a needle to her mother, which her mother still has the syringe and everything to this day. But Chelsea had no idea exactly what she was doing. I could probably guess what she was doing, but I don't think that's YouTube and TikTok friendly, so I'm not gonna explain it, but if you know, you know. So Chelsea was really messed up on this stuff. So her mom explains to her that she needs to go to another hospital to get help. So Chelsea gets drove to the NYU Lutheran Medical Center on May 6th. But this medical center explains that they cannot help Chelsea, that she's going to have to be transferred to another hospital, but that her mother would not be allowed to come. So they actually end up transferring Chelsea to St. John's Riverside Hospital. And they don't know how Chelsea ended up getting access to the internet, but Chelsea ends up messaging the roommate, "Hey, I'm headed to this hospital. I need someone to come get me." And Chelsea's doing her best to get out of this situation. Mind you, her mother knows nothing about this and what's going on because she had to leave her at the first hospital. And Chelsea didn't truly want help. As most drug addicts, she did not want help. So she did end up going to the hospital for a few days, but she did get out. So I was wrong. Chelsea only stayed one night there. She called her mother as soon as she got out, and she only talked to her for 13 minutes and explained that she would be home that night. She was just going to go get sushi and ice cream with her boyfriend. And Chelsea's mother did not know who this boyfriend was, but it actually turned out later to be the drug dealer. Well, later that night, at like 3 a.m., Chelsea's mom gets a voicemail from a man saying, "I'm leaving Chelsea on so-and-so road. I don't know where she's going. She told me to pull over and let her out." And Chelsea never ended up coming home. And so her mom's freaking out because she missed this call. It was 3 a.m. Chelsea was being dropped off on the side of the road. So her mother starts texting her, messaging her, sending her videos of her crying, trying to get Chelsea to come home because she knew she was not safe. Her mother tried getting a hold of this man again, but there was no responses. So this is where it's going to get confusing a little bit more, and I am going to have to use my laptop more. But Chelsea's mother actually ends up filing a missing persons report, and so the police ended up getting a hold of Chelsea's old roommate, and the roommate was originally cooperative with the NYPD, and she explains to them that Chelsea came to see her near 5th Avenue at Sunset Park, and from there Chelsea left with another man. But as the NYPD keeps bringing this roommate back for interviews, the story keeps changing. At one point, the roommate said they met at this restaurant, and Chelsea ended up leaving after that with a man. Later turns out that that restaurant had been closed down for a very long time, and it didn't even exist anymore. And then the story changed to, "Oh, well, we were at this guy's house getting high on so-and-so street," and Chelsea ended up leaving with one of the men. And later in video footage from a house camera, they actually saw Chelsea leave 3 days after she went missing from this house by herself. They can't fully tell that it's Chelsea, but it looks enough like her that they can go ahead and say, this is Chelsea Cobo. She's left from this house on this date. So on July of 2016, 2 months after Chelsea's disappearance, a woman calls Chelsea's mother and explains, I'm a neighbor's a couple doors down from this house that Chelsea was last seen at. I actually saw Chelsea a couple of days ago. She looked really rough. And she actually knew about the man. So Chelsea's mother contacted the police about what this woman had seen. But as time progressed, Chelsea's mother realized the cops were not going to help her. There were many phone calls that the police had released to this documentary of the officers getting mad at Chelsea's mom for calling, explaining, we have no new details, stop calling us. The NYPD were not very helpful. So a month before July 2016, sometime in June, Chelsea's phone was actually turned on for a brief second. It was not turned on for very long, but it was long enough for the cops to track where Chelsea's phone had been turned on. So this is where the Brooklyn DA sex trafficking starts to get involved, because they believe that Chelsea could have been sex trafficked and she's been captured by this dude, which turns out to not be the case. But this went on for 2 years, and her mother was very involved in the missing persons case. And they had actually found many, many girls within looking for Chelsea, but Chelsea was not found. And we're getting pretty close to the end of this story, but Chelsea's mother, and I believe her name is Rose, she was not okay with the cops not finding her daughter. So she takes it on her own to go to this man's house where Chelsea was last seen and knock on the door. When she knocks on the door, the man answers, and she asks about Chelsea, and he lets her in the house. And this man goes on to explain that Chelsea had OD'd one night. She was bleeding out of her eyes and her nose, and the friends were scared to call the police. So they went ahead and moved her body, and the roommate knew exactly how to dispose of her. So they asked this man that Chelsea's mother is talking to, hey, help us carry her out to the car, and then you won't have to deal with any of it ever again. And he explains to them, I'm not helping you. If you want to get rid of her body, you do this all on your own, because I'm not helping. And this is kind of stupid, because honestly, they should have called the police. Chelsea probably could not have been saved after bleeding out from her face, but it's the point being that they moved her body, and her mother will never fully have closure. So the man explains to Chelsea's mother, Rose, that the roommate explained that if they left her on the side of the road somewhere, made her look homeless, stuck a needle in her arm, that it would look like she just OD'd on the side of the road. No big deal. And so Rose goes to the police and explains to them what this man had told her. And they go back to where Chelsea's phone last pinged, looking for any clues of if Chelsea was there, because she supposedly had been dead before her phone had been turned on, meaning the roommate had turned her phone on. Or Chelsea was trying to get help right before she was killed. Died. I don't know. Take it as you will. But they never ended up finding Chelsea's body. So now it's a mystery if Chelsea really did OD and died, or if she is being sex trafficked. But Rose really believes this man that her daughter is dead, because there's been no signs of Chelsea since. And Chelsea's son will now forever have to live without his mother, and they will never know what happened to Chelsea unless the roommate comes out. And another thing that really irritates Chelsea's mother is that the NYPD, never interviewed this roommate again. They did not bring her in, put her in handcuffs, ask her, did Chelsea OD from this? It kind of just ended up turning into a cold case, which is why I'm bringing light to this, because if you know anything about Chelsea Cobo, please reach out to the right authorities, because this is a mother whose son will never know what really happened to his mother unless people reach out about this. And this is years and years ago, but I always believe in hope and that maybe one day her mother and her son can be put to peace. So anyways, if you liked this Crime Time podcast, please let me know in the comments what you would like to hear next, and I hope you watch next week's video that will come out. I promise we are back on schedule, and we'll have many videos coming out from here on out.